Dickens left Doughty Street in December of 1839, and it's extraordinary to think that during the 2.5 years that he was there, he'd finished Pickwick, he'd created Oliver Twist and Nicholas Nickleby, he'd edited Bentley's Miscellany, he'd started thinking very seriously about the old curiosity shop and came back again to his old ideas for Barnaby Rudge. And it's also astonishing to contemplate the range of emotion and the range of human behaviour that he'd written about in these novels during that period. Dark, terrible places he'd gone to in the case of Oliver Twist and in Nicholas Nickleby, the cruelties of Squeers and the disgusting aristocratic misbehaviour of Sir Mulberry Hawk and his chums. Dickens had gone on a considerable journey from someone who only 2 years before had been regarded as an entertainer, essentially, was now a very serious confronter of some of the darkest aspects of human life. But it seems right to end this little commentary on his time in Doughty Street with the book he was in the midst of when he arrived there, the Pickwick Papers, which remains in some ways the sunniest of all of Dickens's novels. And the end of the Pickwick Papers is a rather astonishingly radiant and forgiving and healing and rather marvellous peroration, as it were, or envoy to the whole book, with its many adventures. So the book ends, of course, with the dissolution of the Pickwick Club, which brings a little sadness with it as well, and the contemplation of the wedding that they've just attended, then with the forthcoming wedding of Mr. and Miss Snodgrass and his bride. And the friends all arrive at the location of the wedding. And this is what Dickens writes. He says, "Here, all the light clouds of the more solemn part of the proceedings passed away. Every face shone forth joyously, and nothing was to be heard but congratulations and commendations. Everything was so beautiful, the lawn in front, the garden behind, the miniature conservatory, the dining room, the drawing room, the bedrooms, the smoking room, and above all, the study with its pictures and easy chairs, and odd cabinets and queer tables, and books out of number, with a large, cheerful window opening upon a pleasant lawn and commanding a pretty landscape. Just dotted here and there with little houses almost hidden by the trees, and then the curtains and the carpets and the chairs and the sofas. Everything was so beautiful, so compact, so neat and in such exquisite taste," said everybody, "that there really was no deciding what to admire most." And in the midst of all this stood Mr. Pickwick, his countenance lighted up with smiles which the heart of no man, woman, or child could resist, himself the happiest of the group, shaking hands over and over again with the same people, and when his own were not so employed, rubbing them with pleasure, turning round in a different direction at every fresh expression of gratification or curiosity, and inspiring everybody with his looks of gladness and delight. Breakfast is announced. Mr. Pickwick leads the old lady, who has been very eloquent on the subject of Lady Tollymglower, to the top of a long table. Wardle takes the bottom. The friends arrange themselves on either side. Sam takes his station behind his master's chair. The laughter and talking ceased. Mr. Pickwick, having said grace, pauses for an instant and looks round him. As he does so, the tears roll down his cheeks in the fullness of his joy. Let us leave our old friends in one of those moments of unmixed happiness, of which, if we seek them, there are ever some to cheer our transitory existence here. There are dark shadows on the earth, but its lights are stronger in the contrast. Some men, like bats or owls, have better eyes for the darkness than for the light. We, who have no such optical powers, are better pleased to take our last parting look at the visionary companions of many solitary hours, when the brief sunshine of the world is blazing full upon them. It is the fate of most men who mingle with the world and attain even the prime of life to make many real friends and lose them in the course of nature. It is the fate of all authors or chroniclers to create imaginary friends and lose them in the course of art. Nor is this the full extent of their misfortunes, for they are required to furnish an account of them besides. In compliance with this situation, unquestionably a bad one, we subjoin a few biographical words in relation to the party that Mr. Pickwick assembled. Mr. and Mrs. Winkle, being fully received into favour by the old gentleman, were shortly afterwards installed in a newly built house, not half a mile from Mr. Pickwick's. Mr. Winkle, being engaged in the city as agent or town correspondent of his father, exchanged his odd costume for the ordinary dress of Englishmen, and presented all the external appearance of a civilized Christian ever afterwards. Mr. and Mrs. Snodgrass settled at Dingley Dell, where they purchased and cultivated a small farm, more for occupation than profit. Mr. Snodgrass, being occasionally abstracted and melancholy, is to this day reputed a great poet among his friends and acquaintance, although we do not find that he has ever written anything to encourage this belief. We know many celebrated characters, literary, philosophical, and otherwise, who hold a high reputation on a similar tenure. Mr. Tupman, when his friends married and Mr. Pickwick settled, took lodgings at Richmond, where he has ever since resided. He walks constantly on the terrace during the summer months, with a youthful and jaunty air, which has rendered him the admiration of numerous elderly ladies of singular condition. Whatever side in the vicinity, he has never proposed again. Mr. Bob Sawyer, having previously passed through the Gazette, passed over to Bengal, accompanied by Mr. Benjamin Allen, both gentlemen having received surgical appointments from the East India Company. They each had the yellow fever 14 times, and then resolved to try a little abstinence, since which period they have been doing well. Mrs. Bardell let lodgings to many conversable single gentlemen with great profit, but never brought any more actions for a breach of promise of marriage. Her attorneys, Messrs. Dodson and Fogg, continue in business, in which they realize a large income, and in which they are universally considered among the sharpest of the sharp. Sam Weller kept his word, and remained unmarried for 2 years. The old housekeeper dying at the end of that time, Pickwick promoted Mary to the situation on condition of her marrying Mr. Weller at once, which she did without a murmur. For the circumstance of 2 sturdy little boys having been repeatedly seen at the gate of the back garden, we have reason to suppose that Sam has some family. The elder Mr. Weller drove a coach for 12 months, but being afflicted with the gout, was compelled to retire. The contents of the pocket-book had been so well invested for him, however, by Mr. Pickwick, that he had a handsome independence to retire on, upon which he still lives at an excellent public house near Shooter's Hill, where he is quite revered as an oracle, boasting very much of his intimacy with Mr. Pickwick, and retaining a most unconquerable aversion to widows. Mr. Pickwick himself continued to reside in his new house. employing his leisure hours in arranging the memoranda which he afterwards presented to the secretary of the once famous club, or in hearing Sam Weller read aloud with such remarks as suggested themselves to his mind, which never failed to afford Mr. Pickwick amusement. He was much troubled at first by the numerous applications which were made to him by Mr. Snodgrass, Mr. Winkle, and Mr. Trundle to act as godfather to their offspring, but he has become used to it now and officiates as a matter of course. He never had occasion to regret his bounty to Mr. Jingle, for both that person and Job Trotter became in time worthy members of society, although they have always steadily objected to return to the scenes of their old haunts and temptations. He is somewhat infirm now, but he retains all his former juvenility of spirit, and may still be frequently seen contemplating the pictures in the Dulwich Gallery, or enjoying a walk about the pleasant neighbourhood on a fine day. He is known by all the poor people about, who never fail to take their hats off as he passes, with great respect. The children idolize him. So indeed does the whole neighbourhood. Every year he repairs to a large family merrymaking at Mr. Wardle's. On this, as on all other occasions, he is invariably attended by the faithful Sam, between whom and his master there exists a steady and reciprocal attachment, which nothing but death will sever. The end.